The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Hey everyone! Get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is the Angry Chicken.
Welcome back, everyone. This is TAC. I'm Garrett, and that's Joss.
Whoa.
What?
You just shortened the name of the show. I don't think in 360 episodes you did that. You always say, this is the Angry Chicken. I don't think you've ever just gone, it's TAC, boom.
It would take way too long to prove you wrong, so I'm just going to agree with you.
You're just starting the next 360 off in a totally different light. I love it.
It's 360 a milestone now? I realize it is no, it isn't. I mean, it's a milestone for rotation,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
not rotation
I don't know.
of the Earth.
It's a fancy number.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost said it's a milestone for the Earth. I'm like, no, Gary, that's 365 unless it's leap year. Yeah, it's
numbers.
It's a milestone only for rotation. That is it. That's the only thing it's a milestone for. It's not even a milestone for one of my favorite rotation named video games on the N64, which was 1080 snowboarding. Like, it's not even.
It's like rotation-based games. What?
Rotation-based game titles. Like, there was a title for a snowboarding game on the Nintendo 64 that was actually based on how many times you rotated, which is 1080, which is like as many as you could possibly pull off. I'm sure somebody at some point has beaten that. But yeah. So welcome back, everybody. Hope y'all are having a great week. We finally, Jocelyn, get to do the show when we originally planned to, which if anyone at home is like, I want to go tune in live, you can find us at twitch.tv/AmoveTV on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, essentially until quarantine has ended.
Yeah, for the foreseeable future.
Yes. Yeah, exactly what you said, which it has so much like layered foreboding underneath it. Like, you don't think we're going to be coming out of quarantine anytime soon. They canceled the one real sport event I care about that I had tickets to. And that was the point that laid me low this week. Every week, I'm like doing fine. And there's like one point where I go, oh, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And this week they canceled the pro drift, like drifting in cars thing that Katie and I have been going to like 6 years running. It's a big deal for her and I. I never talk about it on here. I do talk about cars, but I like never talk about drifting. And that was the point this week, Jocelyn, where I went, I can't do this anymore. I need to go outside. This is the worst. But I'm in a great mood today. I thought I was getting sick last night. I thought I might, if you have the sniffles right now, you probably go down a rabbit hole of absolute dark thoughts. So I'm not. Apparently, once again, it's just allergies. So I'm in a good mood today. We're back on top.
Good.
Maybe not in Hearthstone games. I have a very modest win rate, like the most modest of win rates I could possibly achieve. Ever so slightly in the green, Jocelyn. I'm barely eking out a 50% win rate right now. But we have had an entire week without major changes.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. I thought that by now, because like you mentioned, it's currently Wednesday, I thought we might have some more information on whatever they have planned. They did say that whatever nerfs were coming this week were going to be late this week, but I thought they would have, given us some actual things. Now we have a whole AMA to go through, and they did like point us in some card directions, but even then it wasn't the cards I was expecting. Like, I was expecting another big old nerf bat right to Illidan's face.
It was more or less the cards I was expecting, because they were talking about things that were outside of Demon Hunter. If I remember correctly,
Yeah, they basically said like balance pass and wild and also, battlegrounds arena. Like they said, everything's on the table for next week. We just need to do a really quick pass at Demon Hunter right now. So I don't know. I thought that we'd have some more information by now, especially how they were going to change cards, because I don't believe in the AMA unless if anyone can point me to specific comments. I don't think they actually told us what they're going to do. They gave us like a list of cards and the general issues with the cards and why they're being changed, but I don't think we have the actual changes yet.
No, which makes sense.
But we can speculate.
Yeah, I get waiting to do that, even though they've been, it seems like consciously not informing us of these kind of things ahead of time. I think the Demon Hunter change is an exception. Like it came so quickly on the back of the actual expansion launch that I don't think we can look at that as a trend. But like just the speed at which they did card reveal season and obviously the Demon Hunter changes like coming like that make me think that maybe they're just going to start dropping things on us like right away, which I don't like as a content creator. I'm going to just say it right now. I'm as selfish as humanly possible. It makes my job harder. Please stop doing it. But before we get into the AMA, because that's obviously the big topic of conversation today, Joss, I'm just curious, like, how's your week been in Hearthstone? Because we finally had like some sanity.
It's been okay. So I streamed the other night. I played a lot of Battlegrounds. I'm still having the most fun I'm having in Hearthstone right now is in Battlegrounds still. It's a really, really fun mode, and it's giving me a nice break from Constructed because I get super like upset every time I play against a Demon Hunter, which is quite often because I'm just like, okay, I'm playing the counter to Demon Hunter. Let's go. And then I don't queue up against any Demon Hunters. And then I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just join them. Can't beat them. I'll join them. So then I play Demon Hunter. Every single match is against a Demon Hunter. And I'm like, why is your matchmaking like this, Hearthstone? Why?
So
why?
What are you playing that is the counter to Demon Hunter?
Well, I was playing, so first I was playing just like straight up super aggressive Stone Tusk Boar, like face hunter, like just buffing the boars as big as I can, making lots of copies and then hitting you for like 1 billion. So I was playing that. I was also playing the Warlock deck. I was playing just a lot of stuff that was very much like teched to face Demon Hunters. And the Face Hunter, I think, is probably the best out of all of them right now because it can race down a lot of stuff. I also tried the Druid, but I didn't love it. So I moved off of it after like maybe 5 games. But
I really like the Druid. I'm weird. I'm surprised how much I like it because Druid is not one of my like main 3 that I seem to always get along with. But I'm kind of digging it. It's fun to just play big things.
It is. And I think that I'll probably come around a little bit more on the Druid. It just feels very similar to a lot of stuff that I've played in the past. And so I was just kind of looking for something new and something fun. It's the start of the expansion. I just wanted to do new stuff. So like Spell Mage was a thing that I really wanted to experiment a lot with. And I did. And I liked the Highlander Priest too is really cool because it's kind of this like randomly generated every game is different type of priest, which then can feel really high rolly and then kind of either very, very good or very, very bad, depending. So I don't know. I just I'm still not in love with Demon Hunter playing as or against. And so I was just kind of getting a little bit sick of ladder. So not to mention that ladder right now for me just feels super grindy since my win streak has or not my win streak, my bonus star multiplier is gone. My bonus stars are gone. Now I'm just like staring at like the end goal and going like, okay, that's like literally like 45 stars away. It's just so far. And when you're matched up against people of your same MMR, then if they're doing MMR properly, it means that you're going to kind of like win a game and lose a game and win a game and lose a game, win a game and lose a game. And that's like makes the climb really difficult as much as you might, not necessarily want to like beat up on people that aren't as skilled as you. It just making the climb take a very, very long time. So I've kind of since my stars ran out, I think I've gone up 5 ranks because I think my stars ran out just as I hit into platinum, and I'm now at platinum 2 or 3, I think. So yeah, it's been kind of from like platinum approximately 8 to platinum approximately 2. I've just grinded out, but it's been a slog.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I got to diamond 6 and went back to diamond 9. So,
and doesn't that feel like it's gonna be a slog to get back up there again?
The game, once you run out of stars, the game permanently feels like 5 to legend.
Yes,
like,
it really.
I realize win streaks still exist, but you wouldn't know it because you're against people who are good at the game.
Right.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Like there's no longer any. It feels like no longer any chance of just eking out a win because your opponent played poorly. Unless you're playing against me, because I've been trying so many different decks, Jocelyn, that I definitely don't know how to play them all correctly, which is part of that reason. I was doing quite well.
I'm the same.
I was doing quite well sticking with Demon Hunter. That's what got me up to Diamond 6, and then suddenly it just stopped working. And that one I more or less have a handle on. I frankly don't think it's very hard to play. To put it as
it's not.
It is really freaking easy to pilot Tempo Demon Hunter correctly, in my opinion. I think most other decks right now are actually rather difficult to pilot correctly, except Resurrect Priest. You've been playing the same deck for 2 years. You're not original, and I'm sick of your archetype. Go away.
Yeah. That actually was mentioned in the AMA, and I'm like, I'm not even putting this in the notes because basically they just say, some people hate it, some people love it. It is what it is. Deal with it and move on. So I was like, okay.
To me, it should be exactly the same for 2 years. Should play a factor in there, but I don't work on Team 5, so yeah, that's kind of my thought. But I've more or less landed on Galakron Warlock, which I feel like I am still learning new things every day with that deck. I even I did something I haven't done in a really long time. I paid for coaching this week.
What?
I was like, I want to know more. I want to know more about Galakron Warlock, and none of my friends are maining it at the moment. So I was like, well, who's doing lessons right now? And I'm looking around, and sure enough, Sidonia is out there doing lessons.
Good. I was hoping you were going to say it was him.
Yeah. I used them in the past, about a year ago. I think it was the last time I did any like proper, I'm going to go pay for coaching because I want to dive a little deeper. And yeah, found out there's quite a bit about Galakron Warlock that I do not understand. And really of my eyes. And also I like the list that he went for because it's not running Albatross, it's running the Moarg dude that makes your spells do double damage to minions.
Which I think is actually a really good tech choice, especially right now, because you're going to essentially be ahead of the meta because they are going to be changing Albatross. We'll talk about that later, but I think that's a really good list to kind of move away from the stuff that is going to be nerfed anyways. So yeah, that's probably a good tech choice.
It's kept me alive in so many games where I felt I should have been long dead. I ran into a surprising number of face hunters this week. I think they were all the boar list, but I only saw a boar out of one of them actually get to that point.
Yeah, that list is really interesting because it has the kind of dragon package in it. So it's almost like a variation of Dragon Hunter with just a different kind of quicker or potentially quicker finisher, but it has this kind of inevitability to it because you can kind of like draw your boar on 2 9 times out of 10. I like all the games that I've played with it, I've very rarely not pulled one of my 2. Whatever the Scavenger's Ingenuity, I think. Yeah. The one that draws you a beast from your deck, the boar is the only beast in your deck and gives it +3/+3. So then you're kind of sitting there with a 4/4 charger, and then a lot of your other stuff that you're doing just by playing the deck is going to be buffing that boar up as well. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you've got this 10/10. You're just like, all right, sweet, let's go. Yeah. So it has this kind of the really good early to mid game of dragons with a very cheap, powerful finisher.
Yeah, I saw one. He dropped the boar. It was up to a 7/7 at that point, but I had the Moarg and I had a Nether Breath in my hand, so it did 8 damage. So and plus the lifesteal, so it was like one shot, kill the boar, heal for 8. I'm already Galakroned, so I think I also made some demons.
Yeah, if they're dropping only one 7/7 boar, it means they basically have decided they've already lost the game. Because you should have like 3 to 4 10/10s by the time you're dropping them on the board.
I think I ran into 2 other hunters, and they didn't concede. They both just left. They just walked away and let it time out before the game ended. So hey, everybody, what I'm trying. This is a long way to say, listeners out there, if you're sick of losing the face hunter, Galakron Warlock, you should give it a shot.
Apparently.
Not that like I think Hunter is running rampant by any means. It's been a bit of an outlier. I guess my MMR, which is a funny thing to say because I have no idea what it is. None of us do. I'm seeing a really good mix of classes in the past week. Definitely more Demon Hunter the most, probably Warlock second under that, which makes sense because if you're looking at HS Replay, Galakron Warlock's on top, Demon Hunter's right underneath that, on top of the added bonus that Demon Hunter is the first new class in the history of this game. A lot of people are going to be playing it. I think no matter what, it could have launched and been total trash, and people would, well, probably not be playing it as much as it is now because people like to win. Galakron Warlock.
The first day it would have been super popular and then probably would have fallen off after that.
I think the most popular Galakron Warlock list is identical to the Galakron Warlock that existed before freaking Outland. Like it's running Albatross. I don't think it's running anything else new. I could be wrong. I'm pretty damn sure it's not running any new cards. But whatever the case, I think it's been pretty healthy. I wouldn't say I had a negative feeling like around the nerfs that hit last week, but I didn't think it was going to be enough. Like I thought it was cool that they came as quickly as they did, but I still thought Demon Hunter was going to be pretty oppressive, and by all means, still very strong. It is still a tier 1 deck. It still has multiple archetypes that are competitively viable, but I think the nerfs last week did a really good job, like a way better job than I expected them to, because I'm seeing a lot of decks out there, and the stats are kind of backing this up. There's a lot of different archetypes out there that have really solid win rates, and except for a couple outliers, there's good and bad matchups for most of the popular archetypes out there right now, which if you're at bonus stars could be problematic if all you want to do is climb, but it's also I think kind of good and healthy, even though these are the types of metas where I personally find myself getting winded quicker because there's so many, rocks to my paper, as many as there are my rock to someone else's scissors. Like it's a lot. And it's just like, I feel like I'm trying to catch that wave. On top of the fact that I think a lot of these decks outside of Demon Hunter, are pretty difficult to pilot. And there are some Demon Hunter lists that are difficult to pilot. I just think the most popular one is fairly straightforward. So,
well, and I think it is the most popular one because it's fairly straightforward, right? Like why play something super hard and super tricksy when you can just win with something easier?
Well, it needs to have a good win rate on top of that. So I like you could say the same thing for like Murloc lists for the longest time, but they really go up and down. Like if people only wanted to play things that were easy to play, it'd just be Murlocs all the time. But people want something that's easy to play and also gets wins. So it is what it is. But yeah, overall, really enjoying it, and called it on No Minion Mage. That deck is actually really freaking good, and y'all should check it out. I need to check it out, but I need to hit Diamond 5 at least first before I go over to that. Before I learn another new deck. My goal. I need to nestle into Diamond 5, and then I'm gonna start learning new things. So but after the climb, after the ladder situation, I really want to get to 10 bonus stars. Like to have one more, that means cool. I've got a bonus all the way to Diamond 5. That seems incredible. That seems great. That seems honestly a word I haven't thought of when I think of ladder ever. That sounds relaxing, Jocelyn. That sounds relaxing.
Yeah.
And
I want to basically just increase my bonus. Cause again, like I do find it frustrating that we don't know what our MMR is, and that like I didn't know ahead of time how to, I guess, impact it. Like I wish that I had more bonus stars heading into this new ladder. And so that makes me want to get more bonus stars for next month than I had this month, because I felt like I just ran out of gas so quickly. But the earlier parts of the ladder went so quick. I only played one game in silver because I was on a win streak. So it's like I played a game, like I won a game in bronze, and then I won my game in silver, and it was just like that was my one game in silver, and then I was just whoosh up to gold. So like parts of it go by really quickly, which is good, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to like wrap my head around my actual feelings about ladder. I don't think I love it, but I think the reason I don't love it is because I feel like I have so far to go. Like, yeah, versus like how many stars I would have had to grind if I were to make a push. Like I was basically going like 8 to 4 and 8 to 4 and 8 to 4 for most seasons lately. And like that felt like a fine grind. It was kind of like, okay, drop back down, get back to dad legend, drop back down, get back to dad legend. Like this is fine. And yeah, now it doesn't feel as fine, because I'm like, if dad legend now is diamond 5, there's like a billion stars between me and diamond 5 right now, it feels like. So and no scrubs.
No, none at all. Like even if you wait till like the 30th of the month to just go farm nubs, like there's no more nub farming, Joss. There's
yeah,
no more
well,
nub
exactly.
farming.
Yeah, because everybody just always is going to be my same skill level, so it's not going to get any easier further on in the month. I don't know what to do, Garrett. I don't know what to do, but I have also been doing the jumping around and playing a bunch of different things to try to find something fun. So I need to just settle in on a deck and just jam it for the rest of the month. And the other thing is that like I know there's a lot of people who are legend right now, a lot more than previously, and I obviously don't know all of them, but there was a period of 24 hours when Demon Hunter was really strong, and I did not play Demon Hunter. And then, you know, like there's potential, not exploits, but like there was a window of opportunity that I did not take. We'll put it that way. So now I feel super behind.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I feel like I have a long way to go, and I had, I think, one more bonus star than you did. So you have even more to go than I do. So if I agree with you, it starts to dawn on me that feeling is compacted, because it's like, oh, you have even like further to go, and for the longest time, you and I would end seasons in the exact same damn place. So, although I would say it's working as intended. Like when I saw this laid out before us, I kind of thought that was how it was going to go. Like suddenly, like moving up like another 5 ranks from where like your bonus stars roll off, it's gonna be some work. It can be done. It clearly can be done in the same season, but it's also maybe something you work on across multiple seasons.
Well, and that's kind of what the feeling that I'm getting now is that in the previous ladder, I felt like the goal was like legend or dad legend, 5 or legend, depending on, how your time was and your feelings on where you ended up. Like I was always perfectly happy getting to 5 or higher. Like that was enough for me. And then I went on and played other games, because I have lots of other like constantly updating games as a service with ranked ladders to progress through. Like I play a lot of those games. So I would get as far as I needed to in Hearthstone and then kind of like walk away. And it feels like that goal post is just so much further now that it doesn't feel necessarily attainable in one season. And so maybe I need to adjust my expectations and be thinking like, okay, as long as I hit diamond this season, that'll be fine. And then next season I can aim for diamond 5. And then the season after that, I can aim for legend. Like, but legend doesn't feel as attainable as it used to when you don't have that 10-star head start, I guess.
Yes. And I think that's...
I feel kind of stuck where I am right now. And I think I need to adjust my expectations from it being a 1-season grind to a multi-season grind, maybe. I don't know, but...
Yeah, I think it's working as intended, and like I'm kind of ending kind of net positive as well. But I could also go deeper into this, and we've got an AMA to talk about. But
no, we have a lot to talk about, and part of the AMA touches on this anyways. So yeah, we can move along.
Rad. Well, before we do that, let's thank our patrons for supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. If you like our podcast, and it appears a lot of you have, I think we had the most new patrons sign up in the last 7 days than we had, like in a single week's time, than we have in like the last year. Not like in total, but this is the most new patrons in a week we've seen in a really long time. So thank you so very much for the support, everybody, which also means we can't thank everybody in the same episode that just signed up. We usually do like 3 an episode, and then we thank you in the order that you signed up. So we will still thank you. Your names are logged. We thank you in the order that you were signed up. We will be thanking you very soon if we don't get to you today. So with that in mind, thank you so much to Michael Wadden, Parker Bailey, Gickon, no last name given. And I also wanted to give an extra shout out to some older patrons, Daniel Stewart and Pi, for upping their pledges in the last week. So not only did we get some new patrons, but some of our tried and true patrons who have been there a while have actually upped how much they're kicking in for every episode of The Angry Chicken. So thank you so much, everybody. If you want to support our show, Patreon is a way to do so. It's an opt-in sub. You get perks like access to the patron-only Discord. It's a wonderful little community in there. So go check it out. Patreon.com/TAC. And also get yourself an ad-free feed for your trouble. Now, Joss, let's move it along into this week's first segment, which means it's time for the news.
Good news, everyone!
We had our first post-Outland AMA today, as a matter of fact. And there were a lot of questions asked and a lot of questions answered.
It was yesterday.
Oh, was it yesterday? I thought it was today. Oh. My days are...
It's fine. It doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant.
Everyone's days are blending together.
It's irrelevant to anyone getting this on the download. But yeah, I wanted to kick it off with, like, you did a great job of kind of going through and finding the most interesting things, but I wanted to kick it off with what would be considered upcoming changes. So basically what they hinted at as far as nerfs, starting with Demon Hunter. They didn't mention anything specifically, but they said to expect 1 or 2 cards to see changes in the near future. Apparently they're still keeping an eye on everything as it rolls in data wise. And then on the non-balanced side of things, expect Illidan to get more voice lines to reduce attack repetition. Also, apparently a hero overlay for Metamorphosis. I didn't know about this, but I guess it wasn't ready in time.
Well, yeah. So this is a comment. I have to give a shout out to Hadija because her comments through this AMA were my absolute favorite to read. She has this like super dry, self-deprecating type humor. And she's just like, yep, this was my job and I failed and I said I was going to do it. And now I feel like a tit. I'm like, I'm just like, I just love you. I just love you. So anyways, she's the head of the effects department and whatever. And she was saying she didn't want to do something that was like the Shadow Priest, like just the purple smoky overlay. She didn't just want to do like a green smoky overlay. And what she wanted to do was give Illidan this like super glowy tattoo sort of look when he'd gone through with like wings and everything, like all big, kind of probably like he is behind you right now. But she wanted to do this big, crazy, like Illidan overlay for when he went through Metamorphosis. But then she was like, since other classes can steal him, like, what does that look like? Do I have to make, a Metamorphosis overlay for every single hero portrait we currently have in the game? What does that even look like when you put it over a tree? Like, so she's still working on it. But it should be coming soon, probably like not in a patch, like not this week's like balance patch or anything like that, but in a future update kind of as soon as possible that will be in the game. Because that was one of the questions is, like when you're changing your hero power, everybody else that changes their hero power gets a cool effect. Why not Illidan? And it's coming. It just wasn't ready. I think her eyes were just a little bit bigger than, wait, eyes bigger than a stomach. That's the wrong thing. Anyways, you know what I mean? She bit off more than she could chew. I knew there was a food reference in there somewhere.
We'll always find food references here, and we got there. You did not disappoint. That's great. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a nice piece of polish when that gets added in. And stick around, audio audience, for our interview with Adija and Puffin. We'll be hearing from them a little bit later in the show. Other standard cards that got called out. This was by Alex, game designer Alex. Alex called out Sacrificial Pact for being too prevalent, Bad Luck Albatross, Frenzied Felwing for being too strong, and Kael'Thas for being too swingy. I am already over Kael'Thas, so I very much agree with that one. Sac Pack, I'm not surprised about at all, even though I don't feel bad about Sac Packing Demon Hunter's Demons. Like, eat it, you jerks. But yeah, it's probably
it wasn't necessarily even so much that. It was that, like, because it comes off of Zephrys, it basically meant that, like, everyone had access to it. So you were seeing it all the time against warlocks and demons, not to mention basically because Zephrys exists in both wild and standard, it makes Jiraxis essentially unplayable because, like, basically anyone can just throw this neutral card into their deck that then is an insta kill for anyone who tries to use Jiraxis. So yeah, they're going to be making changes to it. They didn't say what. I don't know if they'll say only targets minions or only friendly targets. I don't know, but either way, Sacrificial Pact is going to be getting a change, and that's driven quite a lot actually by Zephrys.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Also, just with the current prevalence of Galakron Warlock, it'll also help that when Frenzied Felwing gets brought in line.
Yeah, that one just, I think we always kind of knew it was strong. Anytime you're doing anything that's going to discount the cost of a card, or if you're just going to print a card that costs 0, because why wouldn't you do that? Anyways, so if you, anytime you're going to be doing something that has the potential to decrease the cost of a card, it has the potential to be too strong. We saw the same sort of thing with Corridor Creeper in its first iteration. So
I'm so glad you remember the name. I'm like, even, or the Odd Worm, or even Worm. I don't remember anymore what its mana cost was. But yeah, that the damn Witchwood prevalence of Corridor Creeper. Thank you for reminding me of that. It's kind of ridiculous. And also, I want to amend my statement from last week on the OTK Demon Hunter, because people who know how to play it, it's terrifying, and I don't want to go up against it. Just turns out, I know we spent the first 30 minutes of the podcast talking about how, since we're matched up via MMR, that you're not playing against nubs anymore. But a lot of the people I'm getting matched up against do not know how to play that OTK Demon Hunter, and I have no warning whether they do or they don't. It's just, you get to the later turns and you're like, oh, you sweet summer child, you have no idea how to do this. And then if I go into the next game against a combo Demon Hunter, assuming that, and then they just blow me out, it's like, oh, I would have played this different had I respected. So I have to play it as if I have to respect them regardless. Yes. So, and Kael'Thas is a big part of the problem with that deck. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised because they said expect 1 to 2 cards of Demon Hunter to see a change, and also Kael'Thas is on the chopping block, so I wouldn't be surprised if either that combo deck becomes a sort of thing that you have to do super late game with a full 10 mana or something. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I would imagine they're probably targeting Twin Slice. That would be my guess. But I'm not sure that it's free. It's free, Garrett.
I think it's okay that it's free. I think Skull of Gul'dan is still too powerful.
Yes. Yeah.
It is just ridiculous. And I know Warlocks are drawing three cards right now, but you know what they're not doing? Discounting those 3 cards.
And I think we talked about that last week too with just the amount of mana that if you can outcast Gul'dan, which you basically always can, then you're getting 9 mana of a discount and paying a 6 mana cost for that, which, yeah, it just seems crazy. So I think they just need to rebalance how much mana discount you're getting from that card. And yeah, I would expect that still in the shopping block. And if I had my pick, and there are many Demon Hunter cards that I don't think are aligning correctly right now. I also don't like the 2/2 that they can play for 1 mana that grows. Usually it's a 4/2 by the next turn when it's hitting my face. Like, it just is gross, and I don't like that one either. Like, they got away from stuff like that by changing like Mana Worm, and then they launched Demon Hunter and didn't learn any lessons. So,
I think Battle Fiend is a more likely candidate than Twin Slice for the reasons you just mentioned. Like, it goes against lessons learned. I think even more so than I know I've mentioned Kael'Thas-esque effects multiple times in like the last 2 months. But none of them are quite to that level of Kael'Thas. They just remind me of it. Battle Fiend is straight up like, we nerfed Mana Worm to get away from stuff like this, and here we find ourselves with Battle Fiend. So
yeah, so I don't know. I'm sure that the combo Demon Hunter is going to be maybe not nerfed to oblivion, but definitely pushed later on into the game, so there's a little bit more counterplay. But like you say, it's not the easiest to pilot, but Kael'Thas can definitely swing games like crazy. And so I think his change was obvious. Bad Luck Albatross I thought was kind of interesting because it was a kind of a cool card design. I guess maybe because it's a 4/3 stat line, right? So maybe they're just thinking that it's a little bit too aggressively statted, and maybe it needs to be like, I think you still want it to have lower health because you want it to die, but maybe making it a 3/3 would be okay. Just that extra, that 4/3 for 3. That's a more aggressive stat line. So even at 2/3.
Yeah, I mean, because the real reason you should be playing this is to screw with your opponent's deck. It's supposed to be the 1/1s on the death rattle. Right now, it doesn't feel bad enough to spend the mana and possibly the turn developing a Bad Luck Albatross as it should. It reminds me a lot of like Hungry Crab in a weird way. In that,
well, yeah, because with that 4 attack, there aren't a whole lot of other things that are going to be in that 2, 3, 4 mana, like depending on when you're playing your 3-drop, right? Offerings from your opponent that you're not going to be able to deal with 4 attack. Like, 2 drops, it's probably going to kill and live, and other 3 drops usually like might kill it, but it's definitely going to trade 1 for 1. Plus, it still has this death rattle effect, and then even there's a lot of 4 drops that this is just going to run into and kill as well. So it kind of like was good across that whole set of turns. And I think that it's that 4 attack that's just a little bit too much. That 3/3 is probably okay, but they might even want to drop it to 2/3 because, like you say, the effect that you're looking for there is the 1/1s in your opponent's deck. You want to turn off Highlander stuff. You want to, even if your opponent is not a Highlander, just the fact that they're natural draw, or even if they're spending a card to draw a card, and all of a sudden they get this 1/1 useless thing, like that's still good, even if your opponent is not a Highlander. So that effect is powerful enough. It doesn't need a good stat line to go with it. Like, it should be, a tech card should be a difficult choice, right? Like, you should have to say, I'm going to do this thing instead of another thing that I want to do that goes with my deck because I want to screw with your deck. I mean, and that should be an actual choice.
I mean, you still are.
Not a given.
If you're out there running the Galakron list and you do have Albatross in there, like 3 is when I want to be invoking. I want to be invoking as much as I can, but still. But
I've seen, like, I mean, Res Priests are running this. Like, so many people are running this right now just to basically Spell Mage is the only one that's like, well, no, obviously I'm not running it. But everybody else is like, yeah, probably.
Hunters, for the most part, I feel like aren't.
Yeah, hunters.
You would think they
hunters
would,
are doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Well, but they want one beast, right? They want their boars right now. So
that one specific deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And at the same time, Bad Luck Albatross, probably not the highest on my list of everything mentioned here, Sack Pack, Albatross, Frenzied, Felwing, Kael'Thas, Battle Albatross at the very bottom of my give a care of those 4 cards getting some sort of adjustment. And I'm abusing the hell out of Sack Pack right now, but I get it. Something needs to be done about it. But they also talked about Wild, Quest Mage, and Darkest Hour Warlock got mentioned. Again, this was Alex, the game designer, talking about it, basically saying that these decks play in a 1-player fashion that's very similar to decks they have nerfed in the past. I'm
pretty sure, like, I haven't played Wild, but Darkest Hour Warlock, I think, is the one I was talking about last week or the week before, where it was the Cthulhu thing where you pay your mana or you turn your health into mana essentially. And I think Blood Bloom is the card that enabled that. I couldn't remember the name of it at the time, but I really loved that Warlock deck. I thought it was super, super fun, but I can understand how people would not enjoy playing against it because it has like old solitaire freeze mage vibes for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Alex points out, they have gone after decks in the past for this. Defended it a bit by saying, hey, there's going to be crazy combos in Wild, but these 2 decks in particular are not healthy. So expect to see some changes coming to also to Open the Waygate and Blood Bloom. Well, Open the Waygate makes sense. Those 2 spells basically enable those 2 Quest Mage and Darkest Hour Warlock decks. So Yeah, and also Arena got called out that a full micro adjust patch alongside these changes or shortly after. This was hinted at already last week when the nerfs were coming in, and they did the hand adjustment to Arena, but they said a proper micro adjustment it just takes more time, and that Demon Hunter is just still a little too strong. They want to bring up the other classes to close the gap. So there is hope, Arena players. There is hope. So,
it's coming soon.
Yeah. And then we get kind of into the meat and like so many other things that were talked about in this AMA. Class identity and class weaknesses were brought up. And it seems like we are going to see that kind of tooled with over time. For example, they said that they are happy with Druid's mana generation identity right now.
Yeah, that was one of the classes that they gave the example of is in a good place. It's very obvious what Druid wants to do. And they essentially want the same thing to be true for all the classes, that they want you to be able to look at a class and know, what its core play style should be. And they're going to kind of be building on that all the way through the Year of the Phoenix. So it's not necessarily in the game right now, but they're really working towards it, which kind of makes sense because they had a lot of stuff that had to rotate out that maybe didn't fit in with the identities that they kind of gave us mid to late last year. So they're going to be working towards building that more this year. And then when all the stuff from last year rotates out, then you should be able to see a lot more clearly what each class should be doing in standard. But they are really happy with Druid. Druid's in a good place in terms of identity right now from what they see. So you can expect the other classes to kind of fall in line with that. The other thing that I thought was really interesting they talked about in terms of identity and weaknesses is they're really changing their philosophy on card draw, because they said they had some classes that card draw was a weakness, except for they kind of went too far down that weakness path. And because card draw is so inherent to the game, they were finding classes without really strong card draw were doing much, much worse in the metas. So they kind of decided that it should be a difference between being able to essentially cycle your whole deck or, being able to draw some cards, but it doesn't mean that they should have any classes that they're building with absolutely no card draw, no card generation, that kind of stuff. So that's, I think, where you get something like Scavenger's Ingenuity for hunters, where it's like they're able to draw a little bit, but it's not like hunters are never going to be known for drawing their deck start to finish in a few turns. Like that's not going to be their identity, but it doesn't mean that they don't get to draw any cards outside of their natural draw or, neutral card draw mechanics like Novice Engineer. It just means that they won't be drawing a bazillion things. They won't be Hand of Gul'daning or Skull of Gul'daning or whatever part of Gul'dan it is that makes it ridiculous.
It's a card game. You need to draw cards.
Exactly.
I'm very glad they don't They don't think of it as a.
I'm glad that they're changing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with that as well. Also, what got mentioned in here is that the Demon Hunter Classic set is still not decided on yet. It will be a mix of Initiate, Phoenix, and still to come cards, but it's up in the air. So that was very much the vibe I got when I was asking it at the summit, because they were like, "Yeah, the Initiate set, it's all of it may not stick around." Was kind of the answer I got in that regard.
Well, and Phoenix stuff might not necessarily rotate out was also the vibe that I got from that. And basically, because Demon Hunters are just going to get more cards than the other classes for all 3 of the sets this year, it means that they have a lot to pull from, and they can make good decisions of the things that they want Demon Hunter to do forever, right? They're committing to this idea of an evergreen set, and part of that means that they have to be more careful, and they have a lot more hindsight and knowledge than they would have had ever before when it came to designing classes. So,
or you could not have an evergreen set and set the classic set on fire.
Yes, that you could do that, but they are not doing that. So
I disagree, but move on for the sake of sanity.
Yeah, like you're not disagreeing with me, right? Like you're disagreeing with the philosophy of Team 5.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes,
I was like, no, but that's what they said, Garrett.
No,
you're stop disagreeing with me.
You're stating facts. I'm disagreeing with Team 5, as I have.
Stop disagreeing with my facts, damn it.
I mean, they don't have it. Doesn't matter. They don't have an evergreen set. It's not an evergreen set if you just keep removing things because they're problematic. Why do you even have it in the first place or call it an evergreen set? Okay.
UI changes.
UI changes. Moving on. Yeah, UI got some mentions. They're not going to give us auto squelch. Okay, sure. Can you just give us the emojis from Battlegrounds then? Because I don't want to squelch people in there, but I squelch everyone always in every game of Hearthstone I play now.
I don't squelch people because usually I find, I get a well played maybe, but I don't get spammed very often. And that was kind of the point that they were making, is that, in general, it's not used for too much toxicity. And so they don't want to kind of take away that part of the game. And if somebody is being toxic, then just squelch them on a one person basis. There's a phrase I'm looking for and I'm just totally lost it. Anyways.
Really, this more comes down to the emojis are amazing and the emotes are whatever.
I love the emojis,
in my opinion. So I'd rather have the emojis. I don't feel particularly passionate about this entire subject. But yeah. Also, apparently they are open to new resources like different mana or fury, which apparently they experimented with for Demon Hunter, but as we can see,
apparently
didn't make the cut. So.
Yeah, they ended up with Outcast instead. So that was something that like they're open to trying different things, but they want to make sure that they land on a fun mechanic. So as of right now, they haven't found anything that would necessarily need to change the UI, but they're open to adding other pieces to the hero UI that might, reflect using some sort of a different resource. So, I mean, we've talked and theorized about things that they could do since probably like Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. I remember talking about mana. I remember talking about gold, like possibly having mana to spend alongside some other resource and what that would look like. So it's something we've kind of been throwing around for a long time, and I'm glad that the team is throwing it around too, because I think that there's some complexity there that could be really interesting. So yeah, they're doing it.
It would certainly be interesting. It's something I haven't thought about for a really long time, because I thought Mean Streets, we thought there was like red mana or something coming in.
Red mana was the thing.
Yeah, but obviously.
And they were like, yeah, we tried it and then decided it wasn't fun. So then we cut it. And it was the same thing with Fury for Demon Hunters. They tried it. It wasn't fun. It got cut. Yep. But they're trying things. So they're not as confined anymore by the UI as they might have hinted at in the past. Yeah. Case by case. Yes. Thank you. Making music for him. Case by case is what I was looking for.
Yeah. The new game mode, like the one that was hinted at in the massive roadmap that has just... We could probably do just every episode from now until something from the roadmap gets revealed on just guessing what any of that is. But the new game mode is on there, and apparently we should be holding on to our wild cards because whatever that new game mode is, apparently it's going to play off of our entire collection.
Yeah, this is a thing that I kind of wish that they hadn't buried in the middle of a Reddit AMA, because as much as we're paying attention to it, there are so many people right now, especially right after a rotation. Like, I really wish that they had said, hey guys, guess what? Your new game mode is going to involve your wild cards. Don't dust everything that's rotating. Like, that would have been a real nice, like, heads up. But, you know, it is what it is. They're telling us now. So, yeah, apparently they're also adding achievements that are going to be linked to the old expansions. It sounds like possibly like a completionist thing. So that's another reason why they added in duplicate protection, is because they wanted people to be able to get a whole expansion for a reasonable price. So they're cognizant of that now more so, and are also going to be rewarding you for collecting all there is to collect in the game. So I don't know what will be tied to the achievements, because obviously we don't have like mounts and titles and all that kind of fun stuff, and also no way to view that we have achievements. So I guess this is going to be another big UI piece, but yeah, we'll have to see going forward what this achievement system is going to look like. But there will be some completionist type stuff for past sets.
They could add mounts. You know, our hero just starts moving around, and then you have to actually aim when you try to go face. It'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Like the Argent tournament.
Yeah. Oh God, jousting. Jousting in both Hearthstone and World of Warcraft was not great.
Not great.
Not great. But yeah, some folks were asking about like work from home, if it's had any impact on the team. Apparently there are no delays as of yet, although apparently mobile testing is quite the challenge now that they are working from home, which makes sense with me, someone who knows jack all about mobile testing. But it seems like, it's probably not that great.
Yeah, like I have no idea what it might entail that would be so much different than testing like the live PC version of the game. But apparently there's something about having, you know, devices on a different, like they don't have access to the like secure Wi-Fi network or something, I guess, to play against each other and test stuff. And they can't or don't want to use the wider internet. I don't know. If you guys are curious, you can go read the comments in the AMA, because they do go a little bit more into the challenges with mobile, but a lot of it was way over my head.
Yeah. Build around cards got brought up, and it seems like they're more or less happy with the ones that are currently in the game. Alex and Zephyrus specifically got mentioned because it was brought up like, hey, they're indexed at, are running duplicates.
They do have duplicates. Yeah. Specifically the Warlock, actually. There's a Control Warlock variant that has these cards in it because they just draw so much. So why wouldn't you run these cards? Because they're very, very, very powerful. And basically the answer was, it's that in itself, running a significant amount of card draw is kind of like building around them as well. So I was like, okay, I can kind of see that logic.
I can entirely see that logic. When I read that this was a question, I'm like, how do you not understand that? That's like the entire point. Which, whatever. Like maybe some people like things to be extremely strict, and I can understand that mindset, even if I am extremely happy that is not how these cards work. Because that's, I think, really cool and not an initially obvious thing, but one that through playtesting and like if you know the game, even if you don't have draw, if you know you're like a control deck, and this stuff is going out to turn 30. Like, that's rad. That's rad that you can run these. I'm really glad that they're not locked behind at start of game if you don't have whatever. Anything that gets into the realm of Gen and Baku, I'm like, no, kill it with fire. I don't want to see it.
Well, and the other piece about that, and another thing they mentioned, is that if they have that start of game mechanic, then the problem with that is there's no counterplay. Like they just will have that effect. So something like Bad Luck Albatross no longer allows you to play against a meta where Highlander decks are really prevalent, or where like heavy draw decks that play these Highlander cards anyways. Like you have no way to shut them off. You have no way to deal with that. So something like, or Bomb Warrior is another example that was a little bit oppressive before Highlander got these super powerful cards. that, those allow you to counterplay against a meta that includes Alex and Zephrys. So I think it's perfectly fine. And I like it better this way because I can make tech choices.
Yes. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword in terms of complexity. I like it a lot, as is ladder also got brought up. Hey, Jocelyn, were you aware that apparently the cutoff for 11 stars versus 10 stars in Legend is a 3.0 MMR?
Yeah, apparently it's 3, guys. So problem solved.
Hey, Jocelyn, I have a follow-up question. What the hell does that mean?
I have no idea, Garrett. None at all. And nobody does because we can't see our MMR. But apparently your MMR goes up to 3. Or maybe it goes up to 4. I don't know. But because 3, I guess, is the cutoff unless everybody is just, if you're either 3 or you're not.
Hey, Jocelyn, a bird in the hand is worth 2.
2 birds? 2 MMR?
Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know what it's worth 2 of?
Oh man, yeah. So this whole MMR thing,
okay,
it's driving me nuts. But
in John Yang's defense, John Yang further clarified that, quote, the exact Legend rank cutoff varies based on the season, the number of players in the region, the MMR distribution within the region, and standard versus wild. So there's a lot of factors that go into
Why is wild factoring? Do I only have 1 MMR? Okay.
Stop asking questions I don't have the answer to. We've made a big enough joke about 3 MMR. Like, it's 3 MMR. It's like,
I know, no, but like, I mean, that is a legit question to me. Is my MMR the same in standard and wild? Because my skill in wild is nowhere near my skill in standard. So I just assumed I would have 2 different MMRs, but this makes it sound like I don't. I have 1, or that somehow one ladder is influenced by the other. Like, I don't even know. I find it super confusing. The fact that it goes up to 3 or possibly slightly higher, I'm just like, how does that change? How much does that change? When does it change? I don't know. This whole system. Bleh.
Yeah. Standard versus wild. Yeah, I have more questions about that. Everything else that John Yang mentioned, though, like, cool. So it's like, that all makes sense. And I think he said that right now, or where they expect 3 to exist, is around the 1500 mark of Legend. So basically, if you are, top 1500 players in your region, then you should expect 11 stars versus 10. If you make it to Legend, you just get 10. I can also kind of see the desire to obfuscate this information, because if it was tied to a specific number at Legend, well, what happens if you dip below it? Like, are we back to like old Legend days where you're like slamming games in the last 24 hours to try and stay above a certain rank just so you can have 1 more bonus star the next season? Like, that's not healthy. So to me, I think this is actually a pretty good way of answering the question. The only thing I get hung up on is 3 MMR, because if we don't know the range, that is an irrelevant piece of information to give us. But everything else, it's good. I think it's healthier to be like, hey guys, you're not going to know the exact point where you're going to get those 11 stars. So like, if you crush it, you're probably good. If you're kind of just going back and forth in Legend, you're probably not going to get that extra
if
star.
you get to Legend and you meme, then expect 10 instead of 11. Yeah,
unless your memes are not dreams and you totally crush it with memes. But, that's your own personal journey to go on. So wrapping up with, future plans for Hearthstone, upgrade a card to Golden got mentioned. It also was mentioned that there is no timeline whatsoever on this particular feature. I would imagine it's one of those things that's way harder to actually pull off with the way that the game is structured than we realize.
Yeah, I would think so too. And I think it's also probably going to be the kind of thing that it's still going to cost you the same amount of dust. It's just going to be like a button you push instead of having to like disenchant things, go into crafting, pick the golden, enchant that, or like, I guess, create that. So it's going to save you some button clicks, but I don't think it's actually going to save you any dust or anything. Just going to save you clicks and time.
But then it's not an upgrade. I don't think they would mention this otherwise, or go through the trouble otherwise.
Well, I guess if you upgrade the card, you don't necessarily, or maybe it takes the crafting cost of the existing card into account. So it costs you slightly more, maybe, or sorry, slightly less. I don't know.
What I was thinking is that it would basically be the cost of another legendary. Like pay the dust cost of a non-golden legendary for a legendary you already have. So essentially cut the cost in half. It's not really cutting it in half because you would have previously dusted or whatever, but that's kind of how I assume it would work in my mind. But
yeah, honestly, I don't know because they didn't talk about it too much. They just said, yeah, that's a thing we're working on, but not anytime soon. But what is coming soon is going to be the ability to rearrange our decks in the collection. They said that this is actually going to happen this expansion cycle. So sometime before the next expansion in this Hearthstone year, we'll be able to rearrange the decks in our collection, which is awesome.
You kind of can if you only worry about if you switch them from wild to standard, it'll like bounce them down to the bottom and then put them back up with the standard decks. So you can get crafty with that and rearrange your decks, but it's extremely unintuitive.
Yeah, I was going to say, but that would be like if I can just like click and drag one from the bottom to the top, that's a whole lot easier.
I only find this funny. It is a warm memory because Ben Brode taught me this when he was no longer working at Blizzard. Because we were talking about things that I wished Hearthstone had that it still didn't at the time, and this one in particular we still don't have. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you just switch it to wild and switch it back, and it moves them around." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I learned something new, and you're not even a Blizzard dude anymore. Thank you, Ben Brode." But yeah, it's just a stupid little story that I wanted to share. So that was cool. Yeah.
That was pretty much it. I mean, the only other thing that I thought was maybe worth mentioning is that they're not planning another Rise of the Mechs event, that they are keeping buffs on the table for cards to like balance things, but they're not planning another like, oh, we really screwed up an expansion, nobody's playing these cards, let's buff the crap out of them and see what happens. So they are still planning on doing some kind of stuff to mix things up in the like in between expansions, but no plans for a giant buff event like Rise of the Mechs had been. But buffs are still on the table.
I mean, I'm fine with that. If they say it's still on the table, but they're not currently, but like that's fine. Like
it's just not an event. Like
do it when it feels right.
Yeah.
Like don't make an arbitrary declaration that we will have one buff event a year. Because what if like we really don't need it? What if every set makes a big enough splash?
Is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm totally fine with that too. You should go check out the AMA in full over on the Hearthstone subreddit. We'll have links for you in the show notes. Not links to you. That would be creepy.
Not links to you guys.
Unless you want us to. It's like your Twitch or something and we're like promoting you. Please do not send your Twitch for promotion. All right. Well, before we move on with esports news, let's thank today's sponsor. Honey is back sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. Listen, we all shop online probably more than usual right now. I'm definitely constantly browsing for things. Sometimes things I don't need. I'm not going to say I don't need all of the things that I buy. I definitely needed the sim racing wheel I just purchased. I needed it.
Obviously,
I didn't want it. Yeah. I needed it.
That's a huge need.
Can't leave my house right now. But you can save money shopping online with Honey. It's a free browser extension. Just go to joinhoney.com/TAC. Jocelyn, I gave Walmart's grocery order service a try recently.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't think we have that here, unfortunately.
Well, we have it here, and I live excruciatingly close to a Walmart. Personally, more of a Target person. It's just more convenient. It's like right there. And Honey got me $10 off. Like I wasn't even thinking about it. That's how Honey. I've had it installed so long now because they've been sponsoring the Angry Chicken for a while. They're like, wasn't even thinking about it, and it's just like my browser just goes bloop bloop. Hey, you want like 10 free bucks, right? Like you clearly want 10 free bucks. Just click your little browser extension and then boop boop boop, and just magically I saved money. It was wonderful. On top of the fact that it's also wonderful that I can have someone like come out to my car with my groceries. That is also cool. But that's not Honey made an already good experience even better because it saved me money. It
saved you money on an already super convenient thing.
Yes. Yes, it was very good. We were, by the way, not sponsored by Walmart. It's just a thing Honey recently saved me money on. And I probably now we won't be because I said I like Target better. But anyways, go check them out because Honey has found its over 18 million members, over $2 billion in savings. Save some money. But why not? It's free. So go check it out. Like, not using Honey is literally passing up free money. It's free to use and installs in just a few seconds. Plus, it's backed by PayPal, so you know it's good. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/TAC. Once again, that's joinhoney.com/TAC. We thank you so much for using that link, everybody. Support the brands that support the Angry Chicken. And now, esports news, because Grandmasters is back. Jocelyn, I don't know why I used that voice. It's
kind of a weird choice, but I'll go with it.
It's a card game. Like even the casters cast it accordingly. I've been watching StarCraft again, and I have been reminded how completely stoked casters are in games that aren't, card games.
Yeah,
a little more like golf.
But yeah, Grandmasters does come back this weekend. And it's got a new system. So we're going to get Swiss rounds, followed by a round robin, followed by playoffs. So a little bit different than we've seen it in the past. So it's going to basically do Swiss rounds to split the divisions into A and B. And then from there, they all play each other. I guess everybody in A plays everybody in A, and everybody in B plays everybody in B, split by region. And then for the playoffs, you've got more people from A make it to the playoffs than do from B. But if you're in Division B, that doesn't mean you have no shot whatsoever. So it's kind of a little bit more complicated than previous years, but I think it will be better because one of my big problems last year was that the groups didn't seem to be split by any sort of metric that we could see. And then especially in the Europe region, I've mentioned this before, we ended up having people get relegated that really didn't deserve it if you looked at the wider region, because we had one pool that was super close and the other pool that was pretty split. So you had some people getting relegated with better records, and that didn't really jive with me. So I think that this is probably a better way to actually seed the players, which isn't something that we really saw in Grandmasters last year. So
yeah,
I'm down.
What is also really cool is that it's multi-format.
Yes.
So if the first 3 weeks is that Swiss round that you mentioned, and there's 3 different formats within those 3 weeks. So week 1 is Conquest with a ban. Week 2 is Last Hero Standing with a ban. And week 3 is 10 deck Conquest with 6 bans.
So this piece is something we've never actually really seen in action on a super competitive Blizzard organized Hearthstone stage. And I'm not sure how it's going to work. I guess we're probably going to end up with like pick and then do a bunch of bans and then another pick and then a bunch of bans and then another pick. So we're kind of going to get like I'm assuming super strong deck, but probably not the most strong deck, because there's probably going to be a lot of people that are just snap banning Demon Hunter right off the top. So we're probably not going to see a lot of Demon Hunter, but I don't know if we'll get, I don't know what phase we get first, picks or bans. But
I don't either. It doesn't
I'm
go
not
into
sure
the finer
exactly
details
how
of that.
it's but basically you're going to get something that is a really powerful deck, something that's kind of middle of the road, and then probably something that's on the weaker side. So I think there's going to be a lot of variety there, because right now there's a good amount of classes in kind of all of those categories. So I think this might be a really interesting week to pay attention to, because we're going to see a lot of classes we probably won't see in the other 2 weeks, the other 2 formats, right? Where players only have to bring a couple of decks. So I'm excited. I think this is really cool. And I love that they're doing something that we've talked about in competitive Hearthstone before. Although when we were talking about it in previous years, a lot of what we said is like, I wish there was a way for them to incorporate being a good standard, wild, and arena, like a well-rounded Hearthstone player. And this, I think, is the best they can do to bring a well-rounded Hearthstone player to the forefront within just the standard game mode, right? So
yeah, I'd like to see.
It doesn't do exactly what we want because it's still other game modes and other formats are still being pushed to the side. But this is like Conquest, Last Hero Standing. These are different ways to play and ban and deck build and lineup build, and they test different skills. So I'm excited that we're seeing this.
They could easily add wild, in my opinion, because you can challenge someone to a wild duel in the game.
Yeah,
arena.
Arena's trickier.
That would have to be there would need to be a major update to the game client to allow that to happen. But
maybe they could do it with an 8-man lobby in Battlegrounds, though.
Maybe they could. It's Battlegrounds. It is its own can of
I know
very random worms. But yeah, I'd like to see wild get added. Like this is very cool, and I am aware of that. I am looking a gift horse in the mouth. I think this is very interesting, and I am actually really looking forward to the opening 3 weeks. Because after that, everything's a best of 5 conquest, and I almost wish
after that it gets boring.
I wish they found a way to kind of to shake that up a little bit more. And I'm also curious if the secret new mode is going to be a new format in Grandmasters, maybe next year or maybe for season 2, right? Because this is just season 1 plans.
Yeah, we thought they were going to call it season 3, but it's season 1 2020.
Yeah, because each year, if this continues, we'll have 2 seasons.
2 seasons, so,
yeah. That's fine. I'm fine with that. Most season-based esports run that way. It's like it's season 1 for whatever the year is, season 2 for whatever the year is. So I'm cool with that. Overall, I think this looks really good. I'm stoked for Grandmasters to come back, especially, we're in a new meta now. It's a new expansion. I'm all for it. I was pretty done watching Hearthstone for the last tour stop. So, and we also have another competition. The Outland Invitational has been announced for April 21st. 20 players competing for $100,000 in prizes.
Yeah, split into 2 teams. So 2 teams of 10, and the teams play against each other through 4 rounds of best of 3 matches where each player represents one of the 10 classes and plays that same class all the way through. So it's interesting. It's another one of it's the invitational. So it's another one of their kind of funsy tournaments. And so every player who's participating takes $3,500 home, but the winning team will take $6,500 home. So nice chunk of change for these guys for participating, and there's a whole bunch of scoring and everything else, but you guys can find all of the rules over on the Play Hearthstone blog. There's a news post there about all of this stuff. So it's April 21st, 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Pacific time. So the other thing that I found really interesting is this is going to be on Twitch because each of the participants are streaming to their own streams. So they have partnered with Twitch, I guess, or at least drops are enabled again. So if you watch any Hearthstone stream for 2 hours, you get 1 Ashes of Outland pack. And if you watch for 4 hours, doesn't have to be consecutive, then you will earn another one. So packs are up for grabs as Twitch drops. So make sure you guys have your accounts already linked, which you should at this point.
Why isn't this Battlegrounds?
I don't know, Garrett. I don't know. I'm sure they'll probably do another Battlegrounds event, but I mean, I kind of teased at the 8-player lobby a couple minutes ago. I'm sure that once that feature is ready in Battlegrounds, then we will be seeing another invitational. Because I think the way that they did it, queuing 2 team members together all the time, just made it awkward and weird. So I think they'll probably be putting together 8-player lobbies.
This just seems odd, like so close to Grandmasters, because like, I don't know. I don't feel a great pull to want to watch this because like, well, I can just watch actual competitive Hearthstone standard games being played out. And like, I realize they have some wacky, like Demon Hunter, like all Demon Hunter matches in this, but I mean, I'm seeing that in real Hearthstone in my own games right now. So this one just seems weird. This really feels like it should be Battlegrounds because
it's on like a Tuesday. So, you'll get Grandmasters all weekend, have a day off, and then you'll be able to go and watch the Invitational.
I'll watch some StarCraft. But yeah, so anyways, if you want to watch that, information in the show notes. I really just want more of the Battlegrounds Invitational. It was fun as hell.
It was fun.
So yeah. Anyways, we are now going to lead into the interview that I conducted with Hadija and Puffin from the summit. You're going to hear a lot about. Listen, if you were in the AMA thinking to yourself, boy, Hadija really likes to lay down some sick information on how art and graphics work in Hearthstone, there's going to be a lot more in this interview. And if you're watching on video, sorry, you got to go to the audio podcast for this one. So enjoy. Pausing the recording there. Sorry, audio or video audience. I had some issues with the video, so it's audio only. All right. Let's do crazy game stories, shall we? Where's the thing?
Has the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
You can send your crazy game stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you're a patron, you can just drop your crazy game story in the patron Discord. Skip the inbox entirely. Rob writes in and says, hello, mayors of Chickenopolis.
I think that's a new one.
That is this is legitimately a new one. I love it. Thank you so much. Anyways, have you tried YOLO Alex in Battlegrounds yet? I just gave it a whirl and got first. You gave the ending away. So 100% win rate confirmed. Here's how it went for me. Turn 1, bought token Murloc. Tier 2, leveled up to, I guess, Tavern tier, or 2 stars.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
He used asterisks.
He's not swearing at us.
Yeah. Tier 3, sold token, leveled up to 3 stars. Tier 4, sold Tidehunter, leveled up to 4 stars. I was curious what YOLO Alex was. Never mind. I have no more questions. Tier 5, bought another Tidehunter and Kindly Grandmother. At this point, I'm at 11 health, and it's finally time to see if I should have left this meme a dream. I upgrade to 6 stars and pick up, 5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars. It's hard to count these when they're that small.
Yeah.
And pick my dragons. I managed to pick up a Herald of the Flame and, more importantly, a Razor Gore. I feel like the damage has been done, but okay. I eked out a tie the next round before starting my big climb. Not once, but twice. I killed the first place player who had over 30 health. I bet they didn't see that coming. I feel a little sorry for them. Ooh. I'd be so mad at you. I'd be cussing at my computer. I've attached a screenshot of my final board. I'm sure you've seen bigger, but it's how quickly they came together that made it fun. So I don't have an easy way to show this, but it's a 10-7, the Divine Shield Lady.
Nadina.
Yep. A 238-38 Caligoses. Not just a couple of Caligai, a couple of 30-38 Caligai. They are identical stat lines. A 42-42 Hangry Dragon, a 40-42 Herald of the Flame, the 4-4, whatever the
Menagerie guy.
Menagerie buffer, and then a 121-125 Razor Gore. Good Lord.
I really enjoy playing this style of Alexstrasza that's basically just like all your eggs in one basket, leveling up as fast as possible, going dragons, going big. And I've had luck with this strategy quite a few times now in Battlegrounds. It's really, really fun. So yeah, I saw this and I was just like, yes, this is how you do her.
And to that we say, YOLO. Well, let's bring it home with some emails from our inbox. Let's see what y'all have to say.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
Yes, you. I did that already. I did that bit. You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Jocelyn, what does Rakamar have to say?
Rakamar writes in and says, would you prefer Monk or Death Knight added to the game in the next expansion?
Death Knight.
First, is that why you wanted me to just read this one straight away, just so you could say Death Knight and we can move on?
Yes, Death Knight.
Okay.
Death Knight. Why would anyone want a monk? They fight with their hands.
Yeah, it's badass.
Lame. It's a fantasy
they can mark
world.
Stuff with their like karma thing, and then deal damage to themselves instead. Anyways,
yeah. Why would I want to slap someone with my 5 digits when I can steal their soul with my sword?
Okay, calm down, emo Garrett.
Edgelord and proud.
Yeah, I think that either or would be really interesting. My vote would go with monk because we haven't really seen anything monk-like in the game already, where we had a whole expansion of Death Knights. So even though they weren't a class in and of themselves, every class got to experience that fantasy. So I'm in the monk camp, but I don't think it's going to be in the next expansion. We've seen from the addition of Demon Hunter that it takes a lot to design and balance a new class. I would say like next year, maybe, to kind of shake up the game on that level again. So that's more, I think, probably like rotation next year. Maybe we'll get one of these, but my vote would go with monk.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I can find it in my heart to stay friends with you.
Yeah. It was close there though.
I think. I mean, I feel like a little bit, a tiny little part of me feels this way. Most of this is for drama. I feel like I got the shaft as a Death Knight fan with the Knights of the Frozen Throne not ushering in a Death Knight class.
That's true. I feel like that was very old guard though. Like if that hadn't happened, then maybe Death Knights would have been the first class that we got added to the game. But I feel like they looked at it and went, maybe we just go Demon Hunter because we already had Frozen Throne. So I think you got screwed, Garrett.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
In Hearthstone and in World of Warcraft, where Frost Death Knights are the least fun to play class I have ever experienced.
Aw. But maybe that'll change next expansion.
They're not removing Breath of Sindragosa, so I don't think it's gonna.
Aw.
Hate that mechanic. It's the worst, and it used to not be the correct way to play Frost, but still is. 2 expansions later. Akilaris writes in and says, I have been playing since the beginning, never got higher than rank 10 in the old system, partly due to lack of skill, but also significant ladder anxiety. I find my ladder anxiety has greatly decreased with the changes in Year of the Phoenix. Are there other changes you want them to make to the ladder experience, and how quickly would you want those changes made?
I can agree with the ladder anxiety, but I feel like it's more a feeling of I've given up. I guess like I've kind of resigned myself to like, okay, this is as high as I get, and it's probably a month-over-month climb, which is why I don't have the same amount of anxiety that I did previously. So I completely understand where you're coming from of losing some of those feelings. It's also a lot to do with like I got so high because of the multiplier that you're not as punished for losses while you're climbing to where they think you should kind of end up. So I get that totally. I can see the ladder anxiety thing. In terms of other changes to the ladder, the only thing I would really like to know is just what is my MMR? I don't know how they really do that, but it's a big piece of information I feel like is missing right now and is really hurting my enjoyment of ladder. And that's a personal feeling, but that's what I feel like is missing right now. But I don't necessarily want them to make any more big sweeping changes until we have a significant amount of time with this ladder. I don't think that anyone has played it enough yet. And I mean, we haven't even had a full season of it to really understand what needs to be changed. So I would want changes to be a few seasons off, I think.
Yes, I agree with the endpoint there. I just want to be like, Joss, you shouldn't feel defeated. Like,
oh, dude, I feel so defeated. I'm just like, okay, I am where I am, and this is all that's happening.
All right. Let me try and. My goal here is to make you feel better and also inspire you to fight for that climb. Okay, so let me know how I do.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with a question.
Spoiler alert, terribly.
What has been one of the most consistent tips that we on the Angry Chicken have given out to players that want to climb?
Play the best deck?
No.
Oh.
Not what I was thinking. It's
okay.
just
like, is this a trick question?
Just
play something good, duh.
Just log games.
Yeah, which I have been doing. I've been doing my, kind of 15 to 20 games a day, and it's been a slog. It's been a very, very slow climb.
I'm sorry, I'm cracking up. Solid Zero in the chat room says, spoiler, Joss, your MMR is less than 3.
Is it though? You don't know. What if my MMR
What if it starts
4?
at 10 and works its way down to 3? We don't know.
We don't know. And I mean, because you don't see the rank of people you're playing against, I can be matched against everybody who's in Legend. You don't know.
I've seen more Legend card backs
and Golden Heroes and 1,000 win portraits. Yeah.
Golden Heroes I'm used to, but 1,000 win heroes I've seen more again this season than any season before. Well, also they haven't been around that long, so that makes sense, but it's neither here nor there. So
the point is, all the flags for very good players you're seeing much more often.
Yeah. So there's a couple layers to this, but my point is, I think just play the game is as true now as it was before. So I think that's a win in this ladder system's corner. Where I think it gets complicated is that this new ladder came in with a new expansion where things have the apple cart has been greatly upset. A little more so than I think it has in any expansion previous. A lot to do because of Demon Hunter, but also because like even the first week was like A, everything's on fire, and B, we're going to change fire with the nerfs. Fire no longer works the way that it did in the first 24 hours. Everybody, it's still on fire. It's just the fire is different.
It's a smolder.
Yeah, it burns in a different way, but it still burns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like there's like I think you already kind of hit the nail on the head, which is like things are too much in flux right now, I think, to really I'm curious how you're going to feel when we've had like a month lull of like no balance changes and the meta is kind of figured out. Because I like to play a lot of different games. I play quite a bit of Heroes of the Storm, play quite a bit of World of Warcraft, and right now on the weekends, I'm playing a lot of sim racing because I need something new in my life since I can't go outside. So I'm the type of player that excels the most in Hearthstone when the meta is
settled,
coasting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to see how you feel then, because I did basically my entire climb with Dragon Hunter before the expansion launched. I hit Diamond before Outland dropped.
Right, and I did all of my climbing after.
Yes, so that's gonna I think you opted into a greater challenge, maybe without realizing it, because who knows? Like it could have also been just as likely that you loved Demon Hunter and just went on a tear. Although you probably wouldn't have, because you would have gone against other damn Demon Hunters.
Yeah.
But there's just so many factors into when this landed that I'm really curious to see how we both feel when the meta is settled. And Hearthstone is in kind of maintenance mode. And although it'll probably be a big Battlegrounds update and we'll go, ooh, shiny, and go over there.
Yeah, right?
But it's also a good time to go. Like log your, I think we've usually recommended 15 games. Like try and get 15 games in a day if your real goal is to push for Legend. But log your 10 games. Like do a gentleman's 10. Once the meta's figured out and you're sticking with the deck. And I'm curious how it goes for you.
And I think I also need to find that deck that I want to climb with, because I have been experimenting with a whole bunch of different stuff. I've been kind of rotating through different classes, and I'm like, oh, I'm close to, this milestone on this class and this milestone on this class. So maybe I need to, grind with Hunter and get almost my 1,000 wins. And maybe I need to go with my mage and I have a bunch of classes that are super, super close to their golden hero powers. So maybe that's just, what I should do. And I keep trying to change, to trick myself, which is really hard because, it's myself and my brain. And so I know that I'm trying to trick myself, but I keep trying to trick myself and go, okay, well, you just need to get wins on this class. And it doesn't matter if you get, 45 losses because all you need is 10 wins and then you'll hit this cool milestone. So just go do that. And then, but I'm like, no, but then I want to win. So the losses do matter. I want to climb. I can never get rid of that wanting to climb, unfortunately.
I mean, I share that as well. I've had more than one instance of like game rage in the last week.
No matter what my other goal is that I try to trick myself with, it never works.
Yeah.
The climb is always the real goal.
It's I have no other tips other than stand. I get way less angry when I play Hearthstone while standing. I can't explain why, but I can like move around, and it's a weird thing in my brain. Like I feel like I have my wits about me and I have better control over my emotions to bad beats when I'm standing. I can't.
I find I can focus better when I'm standing instead of sitting.
Yeah, that's just a weird one. If anyone out there can maybe knows why, is there some sort of psychological thing? I just want to stare at your cat. He's adorable. Is there anything? Is there a thing that's like you focus better when you're standing? Is that a concept that I'm not aware of that I've just randomly stumbled upon as the proud owner of a standing desk? Anyways, but yeah, like my answer, Ocularis, is honestly, overall I really like it. The climb, I think, is just like, it has to be a fact that the climb just takes longer. Like, unless you catch a wave, like, because there's still rock, paper, scissors with some decks. And if you just happen to hit a nice pocket of solid matchups, that's kind of where the RNG of getting a lucky wave comes into play. But beyond that, if the MMR is doing its job, it should be factually more difficult to climb once your bonus stars run out than it was before. But I'm okay with that as someone who had enough bonus stars to ride it to diamond. So yeah, like to me, the work I need to put in is in the place that I'm happy to put that work, if that makes sense. Yeah. And as long as like, because I usually do a lot of traveling in July. Who knows what will be happening this year? But as long as, maybe not climbing as high and like a travel heavy month doesn't degrade my MMR too quickly, which according to Celestion it shouldn't, I think I'm okay. I'm totally happy with this. Like my gut reaction is I like these changes because my net positive feeling, wins feel better and losses feel the same. Like I've been saying that since the beginning. And since that is the case, I'm pretty happy with it. Even if
I feel like wins felt better and losses felt the same for the most part of the climb. But as soon as you lose your bonuses, then it's back to how it used to feel, which is, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, like very granular. And I think like they even feel worse because I know how they feel when they feel good earlier on in the climb. So then it's like, when it's back to the 1 for 1, assuming you don't have a win streak going on, which I have found are much, much harder to come by because you're constantly facing good players or like players who are on your level. Then those win streaks are really hard to come by. And so it is very much a 1 for 1 trade. And so then the losses feel so much worse because then it's like, oh man, I just got that star. No.
I personally am feeling that way, but I think it's because I'm playing Galakron Warlock and my games are going long. So it's just like, oh, that star, I worked 10 minutes for that.
Yeah. Whereas like when I switched to Hunter and I was playing Face Hunter, I was just like, whatever. I was even getting to the point of just conceding when I hit a Demon Hunter. I was like, I know you're going to tilt me, so I'm just going to concede and I'm going to move on.
Wow, you're bumming.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, dude. I'm so down on Demon Hunter. I really don't like it. I'm trying not to be too negative and I'm trying not to mention it too much, but yeah, it's not my jam, man.
A lot of counters.
I know, but they just feel bad because I just look at them and I'm like, I don't feel like you've done anything particularly special. You just seem to have, really good early drops. Then all your cards that are supposed to have the drawback of if your hero attacks, they should just remove that text because the hero's always attacking. So they never have to like worry about not getting that effect because it just always happens. Like, I don't know. Like I said, it tilts me. You can tell even just as I'm talking about it, like it's super tilting. And then they don't seem to have very many weaknesses outside of, removal of one big minion. But yeah, I don't know. They're not my jam. I don't like it. So I don't play them. I concede and I move on.
Well,
which means I am conceding like literally 30 to 40% of my games on ladder, which also is not helping my climb.
You need to let the hate fuel you. You need to take a page out of the Sith handbook because let me tell you, it feels awesome winning against them.
Yeah.
It feels amazing. And psych yourself up, man. Like, don't stream it. Don't stream it. You know, if you got to talk some smack, if you need to like start yelling, yeah, no, your play's trash. Like, do it.
I feel like people would love if I streamed that. Ragey Joss.
I'm not saying you shouldn't put it out in the world, but if you are the type of person that doesn't want to, don't. But you can still have it personally.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be all like glitter and rainbows and stuff.
I know the real Joss. I know the real Joss is a murderer. Real Joss is out for blood, and I don't want to live in a world where Joss concedes. So find the demon knight. I almost said death knight.
Demon knight.
The demon hunter owning fuel. Like, I guess I'm telling you, find your inner bro. Just be like, I want you to start saying things like, "Oh, look at me flexing on this fool. Look at me flexing on him." Like, I want you to get into it. I want you to find that. Find your bro. I need to be the demon hunter. Yes, hunt demon hunters. Hunt them. So.
Or warden, if you want to get all technical.
Well, my favorite demon hunter deck to play runs Maev, so which just seems so wrong,
backwards and wrong. Yeah.
Oh, it's so wrong, so very, very wrong. But you know, lines up to fan fiction I have written. So
you've written what?
What are you talking about?
What? Nothing.
Now you get to ask yourself, was that just a bit, or is it a weird slip of honesty? And I will let you ask that question for the rest of time.
We all know the answer, Garrett. We all know the answer.
That's going to bring
look at those abs.
I'm more interested in my abs, but you know.
Sure you are.
I feel like if anyone has better abs than Illidan, it's Maev. Just
see, Hemwick in the chat room says we need this fanfic posted to Patreon. I love it. I will find it for you guys. I will make it my mission.
You're not even sure that it exists.
Oh, we know it does.
And now you're going to go out reading Illidan Maev fan fiction, and you're going to be wondering, what's his pen name? What is it? What is it? Anyways, with that in mind, everybody, enjoy. That brings us to the end of this episode. Keep the emails coming, tacpodcast@gmail.com. If you're supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC, you can skip the inbox entirely. Drop us a message right there in the Discord. Heck, if we're there, we might just start chatting with you in real time. So go do that. We really appreciate the support, everybody. Seriously, if you're supporting us on Patreon, thank you very much. And if you like the show and you're curious how the best way to support us is, it's Patreon. So go check it out. Speaking of which, thank you to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Thank you very much for the generous support, you two. And there are more producer slots available if anyone is interested. You can catch us live Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time over twitch.tv/AMOTV. That's when it will be until quarantine is over. And then you can find us never. I'm going to literally just take a sabbatical and I will just be out in the sun with my shirt off for like 3 months. You won't be able to find me. I'm going to go out there and write my fan fiction. It's going to be great.
See, you say that like it isn't already written. Or is it like a trilogy?
50 Shades of Green coming at you real soon. Coming at you real soon. Jocelyn Carney, when you're done choking on laughter, where can people find your work?
Oh, man. Okay, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. It's JOCE Plays. I have been doing some more Hearthstone streaming, so come and check it out. You did broke me completely. 50 Shades of Green. Like, is Gul'dan getting in there too?
It works. It works. I mean, he's covered in green glowing tats, and Mayhem has green armor. Gul'dan has the Fel. Demons. There's so much green. So many shades. Yep. 50 to be exact. Folks, you can find me over on Twitter at GarrettArt. AMove.tv for all the other podcasts. There's some serious things happening over in Heroes of the Storm right now. Major overhaul to the entire game. at like a base level of how you play Heroes of the Storm. So if you want to hear more about that, you should check out Into the Nexus. That is the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. Got a new one coming out tomorrow with special guest Not Paradox. Dude knows a lot about Heroes of the Storm. You should listen to him, and you can over on Into the Nexus. That's going to do it for this week's episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And until next time, job's done.
I bet it has something to do with Newfound Glory. Job's done.
My pen name?
Yeah.
Please. If anything, it'd be Green Day. Hence,
that was
another shade of green.